Some 2,000 years ago, we are told, on a hill outside Jerusalem, the so-called king of the Jews, we are told, cried out and died on a cross. The temple veil tore, the earth shook, and the preachers have ever since that time been telling the whole world that it is finished, that Satan, who is the causer of all the problems on the world, was defeated. But Satan doesn't live. He is still around. The cross never defeated Satan. It is clear when you read some of the parts of the Bible and verses that you still find Satan being described as the God of this world. Even when Satan offered Jesus the kingdoms of the whole world, Jesus never refuted the fact that he owned all the kingdoms. So if Jesus defeated Satan, why did he not remove him from the throne? The greatest lie ever told is called the truth today. They said bow, you bowed. They said cast Satan, and you did. They said believe, and you believed. They said God, and you trembled. Now here comes a book that breaks the oldest spell on earth. No More Masters, which you can get from Amazon or from www.marifado.com, teaches you how to reclaim your mind, how to unleash your real potential, how to become your own master. You should own this book, you should read this book, and you should share it with as many people as possible. Get this copy, and get your copy, and get a copy for your friend from Amazon.com. Jesus presumably defeated Satan on the cross, as we have already alluded to, but rushed back to heaven very fast, very quickly, very early, but leaving Satan on his throne on the earth. Why? When the question is asked, why? The standard answer given by theologians is that Satan is defeated, but not yet destroyed. We now live in the already, but not in the yet. This is not an answer. It is an admission of incoherence. The eschatological deferral is a theological accounting trick which postpones the falsification of the claim that it stands for, because Satan still rules. The whole world is under the influence of Satan the devil, if we consider evil. In a universe governed by an omnipotent creator, why would Satan be still sitting on the throne when we can cast him away with the blood of Jesus and the cross did the job? He's a squatter, but he's staying only because perhaps the landlord finds him useful. It is time today to stop looking for an answer and to consider something deeper that could be misunderstood by a lot. The belief that the cross defeated Satan comes from a deception we know as the conflation problem, the evolution of the concept of who is God. Because when humanity is asked, or when humanity hears the term or the noun of God, unfortunately they assume that this is the unknowable, nameless, not a spirit, not a being, creator, the real creator. They think that he is, this God of theirs is omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient, and omnibenevolent. Yet this same God is originally known as Yahweh, a tribal deity of the southern Levant, who emerged from the Canaanite polytheism and was gradually elevated through conquest, political conquest, and prophetic reforms. The term omni, that gives the attributes the power that they have today, was not originally applied to Yahweh. It was borrowed from the philosophical theology of Platonism and Aristotelianism and projected backward to this tribal God. Now, capture that conflation ideology very, very clearly, because it is now that shows us that Satan, the devil, acquired this omnipresence, omnipotence in a very subtle, silent, secret way, just as we know that the cross never defeated Satan, and the conflation problem is not a conspiracy theory. It is the mainstream consensus now that operates within Christendom, and through the conscious preaching and teaching has now permeated human consciousness all over the earth. Yet we know that from many sources, like the Ugaritic text and the creation of Jesus by Nicaea, these are deities that were promoted and that are promoted as representing or as the all-knowing, as the real creator. The conflation problem crowns Satan with a cosmological crown, giving him omnipresence.
Absolute creator.
The serpent, or Nakash, in the book of Genesis chapter 3, is depicted as a divine angelic being, linking him to the unended cherub in Ezekiel, implying to a figure that transcends the physical three-dimension world, and with locations in Eden, the holy mountain of God, and the heavenly court in Job. The logic then is simply saying Satan is a being who is everywhere. This gains momentum because he is not restricted to the material world. Yet all this was not inspired and is not the truth. It is a fallacy that comes from what those who copied African mythologies have included and inculcated in humans, thinking that Satan was in the Garden of Eden as a serpent, yet Nakash doesn't mean a serpent at all. It also means a shiny being, a reptilian being who is a Chitauri. The conflation issue, when you read Genesis 3:15, in which you are told that they will crush the serpent's head, implying that Jesus will defeat Satan the devil. But Jesus himself, in many verses, proclaimed that Satan is the God and ruler of the world. In 2 Corinthians chapter 4 verse 4, the devil is called the God of this world. In 2 Corinthians 11 verse 14, we realize and we read that Satan himself converts himself and changes himself in a shape shifting like a reptilian and becomes the angel of light. The devil is the ruler of this world. The devil is the ruler of the world. John 14:30, John 16:11 says the same. And then the most critical verse is Ephesians 2 verse 2, which says, he is the prince of the power of the air. And now we come to the explanation that if Satan existed and is described as the prince of the power of the air, he needs to have wings to fly. And then we go to ancient Hamid and we discover the winged serpents. Since Satan exists in various realms, it is clear that he was never defeated by Jesus. His presence is far more pervasive than a simple physical activity on Calvary that might have removed him, because Calvary is about 2,000 years ago, and we know that 70,000 years ago our ancestors already knew about these seraphims or serpents. So when the Bible came and wrote about all this and the temple veil and Satan defeating the serpent, this issue of the serpentine power was already known. The thinking that God or Allah or Jesus is the real and noble creator is a massive eternal mistake that equates God as creator. And this has been programmed into human consciousness. And sitting at the center is a local deity, Set or Shatter or Sita. Sadly, he has acquired the characteristics of omnipotence, omnipresence, and being everywhere, and has spanned Satanism today. But this loophole has forced humanity to be misled in how they can handle evil. And to try to explain why the universal God can still create a chaotic world, they have created Satan and borrowed many of the aspects from the tribal or deities. Now, since Jesus presumably defeated Satan on the cross but rushed back to heaven and left him on his throne, it means Satan rules. Sita rules. Unfortunately, that kind of truth creates a problem. And the priest saw the God of the Bible, Yahweh or Elohim, as God who is good all the time, all the same. God is good. Where does evil come from then? So they went into Nile Valley cosmology, where they discovered Isfet and Ma'atic systems. Honest cosmology teaches that entropy is primordial and managed daily. But the waters of Unyunyu, the primordial, absolute, infinite, and beyond infinite, covers all issues here. Because what we need to understand then is that the principle they personified into the rogue agent Satan allowed them to preserve the omnibenevolence brand of their deity while shifting the blame for a systematic entropy into a villain. Unfortunately, they still needed to propagate the idea that Satan, by extension evil, must be omnipresent, omnipotent, otherwise their good God would also have some evil inside him. Then we come to Apple Piper, Ububi. Even after creating Jesus who defeated Satan, hence evil, they still cannot account why if Jesus defeated Satan on the cross, immediately flew back to heaven and left Satan on the throne with evil running rampant. They can't answer why. The problem is clear. The cross never defeated Satan. The solution is that you must handle evil, since the cross never defeated Satan. But how do you handle evil? By defeating Satan, who is the sitter, who is Set, who is Shatter, the chaos deity who predates Abrahamic Satan by over 3,000 years. Our ancestors had a clear formula. They knew how to battle it, and they knew how you can take over the throne. Let's look at the source of evil and the good. Where does good and evil come from? Unfortunately, this is where a lot have missed the boat. We have the waters of Nyunyu, which is all potential and all possibilities, or quantum possibilities. Out of this primordial presence, all potential and all waters of Nyunyu, evil auto-generates itself when good auto-generates itself at the same time, which means Ma'at and the Isfet generate themselves out of the waters of Nyunyu, all potential with all possibilities. So auto-generation of evil means that we are capable and able of creating good and evil ourselves. Every conscious entity creates good and evil. There is no gray area at all. Now, our ancestors then went on to formalize doing Ma'at to counter Ububi, Uipi, or evil, because both auto-generate themselves, create themselves, and become evil, which was then translated as Satan today. Very clear. You can see that this is very clear. Now, let's prove that you auto-generate evil yourself. There is no Satan. It's you who is Satan. By your dominant character and behavior, you will be the devil. The kingdom of heaven is within you, which means you can do good or you can do evil. Why is it saying the kingdom of heaven? Because it is interdimensional. It's beyond this dimension. It is in the waters of Nyunyu, that kingdom we are talking about. Therefore, they also taught you the 42 laws of Ma'at. I have not committed sin, which is the opposite of doing good, of being righteous. I have not committed robbery with violence, which is peace. So you have the characteristic, you auto-generate them within you.
Stop fearing
You are
Satan.
the devil. You are Satan yourself. So in Afro-Hamitic spirituality, we honestly admit that chaos is primordial. And is inside every individual who walks on the earth. And we affect ourselves through it. And we never fully defeat it. Unfortunately, the Abrahamic theology dishonestly teaches people that you can defeat evil. Our ancestors taught us the banishing of a pep or piper, where we beat the effigy, burn it, but knowing that tomorrow it is returning. It's cyclical. This is honest cosmology. Christian spiritual warfare is dishonest theater, claiming, binding, and delivering people from Satan, yet Satan is still here. You can never remove him because it is you, it is me, it's inside us. We need to manage our own proclivity towards Isfet calibration, laziness, cruelty, our willingness to believe comfortable lies, our entropy. We need to stop thinking that we can bind Satan and remove him, because the cross never defeated Satan, but you can. The question is, how are you able to do that? Because these demonic possessions are not natural, but they are tendencies that we acquire through conscious effort, through our own decision making. So when we perform our daily ritual against Apep each morning, each day, each moment, we do good. We are binding evil and putting and substituting it with good. And by participating in this activity, we are maintaining the cosmos and maintaining Ma'at, acknowledging that order is not automatic, that chaos returns each moment we defeat it, and that the work of Ma'at is never finished. Christians and their ilk spends lives and energy binding Satan, demons and evil, engaging in displacement activity, projecting internal and systemic evil onto an external scapegoat, performing rituals that fail because they avoid the harder work of cleansing from inside them. That is what is needed. The Satan paradox is that you should cleanse yourself of those proclivities. Apep or Piper is not evil. Apep is entropy. The great serpent is the primordial edge that you have to do evil and to return to chaos. Eventually it will take you into non-existence. It isn't rebellious, it is structural. The daily maintenance is needed, and you don't need to bind Apep once and for all, because he will come again. Daily he comes again and he will defeat you if you don't perform Ma'at. So if you want to learn more about this, do not hesitate to send us an email and also to get in touch with us. I am Hamaneja Topi, preacher Rabbi Elem Tumisikunikeni Nyakanja, a member of my father family network, saying a pop or a piper is not evil, but entropy is far worse than all the evil and all the devils that you have ever thought of, because entropy will take you into non-existence at all. Subscribe, share, and leave a comment. Stay well, stay cool. Ameni.